And you may have received a pop-up that says that this is going to be recorded. Okay. So, on behalf of the Brain Wellness Program, I would like to welcome you to a workshop about learning how to rest. Rest to thrive, simple and deeply replenishing rest practices for greater vitality, presence, and well being. Doesn't that sound fabulous? And our speaker today is Dr. Diana Liu. So, some time ago, I heard about this daring to rest philosophy and the power of rest in our well being and how rest can be a superpower. And so, with some digging, I found Diana, who is a daring to rest trained facilitator. And I quickly knew that this would be something that would be interested to many, and especially to those who are in a caregiving role. Her bio is on the website, and Martina, if you have a chance to pop it in the chat, that'd be great. But briefly, she is uniquely qualified to talk to us today as she is a certified yoga and meditation teacher, a Daring to Rest facilitator, a dentist who specializes in sleep medicine, and an adult sleep coach who works on the Sunshine Coast. And so, with that, I turn it over to you, Diana, and welcome you.
Thank you so much, Elaine, for that warm welcome. And thank you so much for all joining me today. And I'm just so excited to be talking about a topic that I'm very passionate about and has truly transformed my life and the lives of so many of my clients. And I truly feel like rest is a foundation of life, and hopefully by the end of this presentation that you will feel this. And so today, I'm going to offer you a lot of just perspectives and information about what rest is, but also today will be an experience. So to feel that rest in our bodies, and it's kind of like that exhale in our life. So who is ready for that? So if you feel like you've been pouring a lot out, I know many of you are in that caregiving role, so there's just a lot of care and energy being poured out to others. And so this workshop is really about pouring into ourselves. And so today you'll not only understand like the physiology and the science behind rest, but also some practical tools that you can integrate into your life. And so we're going to actually start with a practical tool. So before we even begin, I'm going to just introduce you to one practical tool that you can start to implement. And the reason why I wanted to start with that was because part of rest is to reconnect to our bodies and to be able to drop back. So most of us, including myself, I think just like as humans, we tend to live shoulders up. So a lot in our heads, a lot going on in our thoughts. And so the more we can start to develop this skill to reconnect back to our bodies, which is what I'm going to share today, the easier it will be to just feel more well-resourced and rested. And so if I know some of you are at home and, so if you want, like I really encourage to follow along with these practical rest tools so that you can feel what it feels like. But I know some of you, if you're not at home, or maybe if you're driving or walking around, then there is going to be that recording. So you can always come back to these tools. I really encourage you to just experience rest in our bodies because that's where rest lives. And so I will go over the first rest tool, and this is called the releasing breath. So our breath is a powerful tool because not only, we don't have to think about breathing just happens to keep us alive. But when we start to put our attention towards our breath, our awareness towards our breath, we can start to shift our state. So, so this is going to be called the releasing breath, and I'll just walk you through it. Can everyone see me? I'm going to back off a bit so everyone can see me okay?
We can see you. Perfect.
You can see me okay. Okay, great. So this breath tool is going to be an inhale through the nose for 3 counts and an exhale out the mouth for 6 counts. And so we're going to exhale twice as long as the inhale. And what that does is when we start to exhale out of our mouth and have this long extended exhale, this is going to tone our vagus nerve. So I'll talk a little bit more about the nervous system in a bit, but it's just really going to turn on that calm down switch and start to just dissipate some of that stress that can be held in our bodies and our tissues. And it could be not only be that physical stress, but also the mental and emotional stress. So I'll guide you guys along. And the other tool that I wanted to offer as we're moving through this is if you're sitting in a chair for this, with your feet planted on the ground. So if you're sitting in a chair, just connecting the feet to the ground and feeling that contact that your feet are making with the ground. Or if you're sitting on the ground or sitting on a bed, like, doesn't matter. You can also just feel your legs touching the ground and your sit bones touching that hard surface. So I'll guide you through this as we're going along, but I just wanted to explain that first so that everyone knows what's going on. And so we'll get started. So finding that comfortable seat, whether that's sitting in your chair or sitting on the ground or a bed, and just placing your left hand on your heart and your right hand on your belly. And if it feels safe to close your eyes, you can close your eyes. And if that doesn't feel safe, an option is you can do a gentle gaze at your nose or down onto the ground. And if you're closing your eyes, this just helps to tune out the external world. So you can start to tune more inwards. So notice the contact that your hands are making with your body. So just feeling that connection. And just notice what's here. Feeling that hard surface supporting your sit bones. Feeling the contact that your feet and legs are making with the ground. So just feeling that connection. And as you're breathing, just starting to notice your breath. Notice the expansion of your body with every inhale. And notice the contraction, everything falling towards your spine with every exhale. And now notice your heartbeat. Notice what your heart feels like in this moment. Is it fast or is it slow? And without changing anything, noticing your breath. So notice if you're breathing just into your chest. Maybe it's feeling a little shallow in this moment. Notice if the breath is also breathing into your belly. And if there's anything else that is coming up, maybe you might feel other sensations in your body. Maybe you're feeling a little heavy in your chest today, or you might be feeling more open there. Or maybe it feels like there's butterflies in your stomach or knots, wherever you are is perfect. And sometimes, we might be feeling certain things and judging that, but just knowing that this is all okay. So everything is welcome today, no matter how you're feeling. So just taking that moment to check in. So we're gonna go through that releasing breath. So on the inhale, you're gonna take a deep breath into the nose and breathe into your belly and chest, expanding for 3 counts, and exhale out the mouth for 6. out the mouth. And we're going to take this breath again, deep breath in through the nose for 3. And exhale out the mouth for 6. Just feeling those shoulders relax, the muscles relax. And again, deep breath in through the nose for 3. And exhale out the mouth for 6. So we'll do this 3 more times. Deep breath in through the nose, filling up. And exhale out the mouth for 6. So 2 more times at your own pace. And as you're exhaling, see if you can really start to soften the shoulders, just feeling those muscles start to relax. And once more. Beautiful. And just taking a moment to notice any internal shifts after those releasing breaths. Maybe even wiggling the jaw side to side if you notice you're clenching your jaw, softening the muscles of your face. Maybe you're starting to feel the shoulders drop, the breath start to slow down and deepen. So just notice what those 6 releasing breaths did for you. Maybe you're starting to feel that heart rate slow down a bit. You're starting to feel more grounded and connected to your body. So if anyone wants to share in the chat how that felt for you, or if you noticed anything, just even just one word, feel free to share that in the chat. Anything you noticed.
Relaxing.
Sorry?
It's relaxing.
Relaxing. Release.
Release.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing
Absolutely.
that. Yeah, and that's what this a yawn. Yes. Thank you for sharing yawn. So sometimes when we're going through these rest tools and you're yawning, this is a good sign actually of the body that it is actually releasing energy out the body, but also, yeah, taking you into that deeper relaxation. So a lot of times we think yawning's like, oh, this is boring. Maybe you're finding this boring, but regardless, or maybe it's making you sleepy, right?
Oh,
And
I
so
don't, did I say yawning? I didn't say yawning, did I?
that's okay. Well, yawning's actually a good sign.
No, but I didn't think I said that, did I? That's okay. It doesn't matter.
Oh, I'm just reading into the chat. It probably wasn't you, but I'm just reading the
Oh,
different
okay, yeah.
comments in the chat.
Yeah.
So Elaine said release, Ruth said relief, Virginia said it makes me want to
Sorry.
yawn.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah. I said
Joanna said I
yawning.
feel well rested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I said
I-
yawning, but not a boring or tired yawning. It's a very natural reaction. I just feel like yawning. Yeah.
No, and I acknowledge that. Yeah, that's why I wanted to also clarify that yawning is a good sign. So when we're yawning, that means that things are releasing out and we're starting to move into that deeper relaxation. So that's actually a good sign in the body. And I'm not offended if you say yawning. I feel like this is a compliment. So yeah, and a restful release. Amazing. I'm so glad you guys feel all that. And so that is one of the rest tools that you can implement, and it's so simple. It only takes like a couple minutes, right? And and so today I'll also walk you through a little overview of where we're going today, so that everyone kind of knows like what the journey is going to be like. And so we're going to first talk about a little bit about rest resistance, because every person, every client that I've worked with, including myself, like for so long, has experienced rest resistance. And this could feel like, when we know we should rest, but then when we try, we feel that guilt come up. So that's one way that rest resistance can show up. So I'll talk deeper into that. And then we're going to go into what is true rest. So there's a lot of, marketing around rest. And I just wanted to like cut out the noise and really talk about what is rest from a scientific perspective and what is actually going on in our bodies physiologically. And then we're also going to explore rest in the nervous system. So the nervous system is a huge component when it comes to rest, and so we'll dive deeper into that. And then today you're going to walk home with a rest toolbox. So this was one of the tools that you can add into the rest toolbox, but we're also going to be going over a few more that you can easily implement. And a lot of these don't require a lot of time and effort. And then we're going to end with an experiential rest journey. So you're going to all walk away feeling more rested and relaxed and replenished. Yeah, so that's where we're going today. And I'm just gonna, introduce a little bit about myself. Thank you, Elaine. You've already introduced some of that, so thank you for that. But so I'm Dr. Diana Liu. If we've never met before, and so I'm a certified adult rest and sleep coach, and so I blend three components when it comes to rest: the science of rest, the physiology, the somatic, so these body-based tools, that one of them you just experienced today, and I also weave in the nervous system, which we'll dive deeper into. I'm also a sleep apnea dentist, so probably not many of you have heard of a sleep apnea dentist before, but basically a lot of my clinical practice is there to support people who are struggling from sleep apnea, which is where you're pausing in the middle of the night. Your breath, like your breath is, you have pauses of breath in the middle of the night, and this does disrupt the sleep. And so there's actually a dental alternative to the CPAP. So if you've heard of sleep apnea, you may have heard of a CPAP. So there's actually a dental solution to that that can also keep the airway open and allow you to have good quality rest and just transform your health, basically. And so part of how I got into it was my mom got diagnosed with sleep apnea, so that's how I started to learn more about sleep apnea. Part of this too was I had suffered from insomnia when I was younger, which I'll speak a little bit more about that. And then on top of that, when I was started supporting people at the clinic with sleep apnea, and I was asking people about their sleep, I realized that so many people struggle with sleep, and especially the people that have sleep apnea. And maybe you have someone that you're caring for that has sleep apnea, that they may have insomnia as well. And so I did additional training in cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia to support people with their sleep. But my biggest teacher of life has really been my own burnout, my own insomnia, and chronic stress. And so I'll just get into a little bit about my burnout story. So this happened when I was in first year dental school, and I just remember being like so excited for dental school that I got into this program, and it was just like something that I've wanted to do for a long time. And so when I got in, I was really excited, but it was so overwhelming because the course load was 15 courses in one semester. And so, maybe you've gone through undergraduate, graduate, usually it's like 5 courses. This was 15 courses on top of labs, on top of caring for patients. So I felt like I was just stretched way too thin. I was actually quite shocked with just how much demand it was. And it was just a complete overload on my nervous system. And so I was like hustling, pushing through exhaustion all the time. And I didn't know this at the time, but I was wired and tired, and that was my normal state. And so, I was just drinking caffeine to try to get through and try to keep up. And I was constantly worried if I was doing enough. I was really worried about failing and flunking out of the program. And so it became a very anxious process for me, and I was restless most of the time. And this anxiety also followed me into bed. And so I couldn't shut off my brain. I was just in this fight and flight sympathetic nervous system. So we'll talk a little bit more about that, where this eventually led to 6 months of insomnia. And then one day, I remember midway through dental school, I woke up and I could not feel my fingers. My hands had a flare up and I couldn't even open a door. Like my fingers started to go numb and weak. And so you can imagine, as a student in dental school and there's stuff going on with my hands, that would be a huge scare. And so I went to see a specialist to get that investigated, and she ran all the tests. And so I thought I had arthritis. So she ran all the tests and she said, no, you don't have arthritis. And so she started to ask me about my stress levels. And I told her I felt really, really stressed. I was really struggling to sleep. And she told me that this is very common. She sees this a lot, that when we're in that state of stress all the time, our whole body goes into chronic inflammation and all sorts of symptoms can happen. And so for me, it manifested as a flare up in my joints and my fingers. And so fortunately, around the same time, my mom, who she was about 45 years old at the time, she decided to get her yoga teacher's training. And it was a really random decision. Like, yoga was never a part of our family upbringing or anything, but it was actually through a friend who inspired her to just try this out. And so she decided to become a yoga teacher, and it was like a 6 month program. And I actually watched her transform her health through that. And at that point, I wasn't like, it didn't really intrigue me that much, but she saw how much I was struggling and recommended that I try yoga. And at that time, I was just so burnt out that I was willing to try anything. And so there was a local studio, and they were offering this like 30-day yoga challenge. It was like $30 for 30 days. And I ended up signing up for that. And so I committed for 30 days because I had no other tools. Like at that time, I had no rest tools, none of that. And so I committed to just trying yoga out. In the beginning, it was really, really awkward. I was in, all these like different positions, and I was upside down, and it felt really strange. But I just kept going. And as I was going every day, about, like 15 days in, something shifted. And I remember like just feeling a lot less stressed. I was feeling more mental clarity. My sleep was improving. But I do remember this one moment where at the end of the yoga class, so if you've gone to a yoga class, Shavasana, which is when you lie down at the end and rest, I had this moment where my thoughts started to slow down. I started to feel more spaciousness between my thoughts. And I had this moment of this deep peace that I've never experienced before. And this moment completely changed my life. Like, I tasted true rest, and I was like, what is this? And I was in my body, and I just felt so amazing. And so after that experience, I finished the 30 days, and I joined a membership, and yoga was my introduction to rest. And I committed throughout the rest of dental school, and I felt like it prevented me from dropping out of dental school because I was really considering that. So and during that time in dental school, I ended up getting certified as a yoga teacher as well. And also I started to explore other modalities like breath work and sound healing and nervous system tools, and diving more into sleep because I had insomnia as well, so I was really interested in that. And so, and I've been exploring these for over a decade. And one of the things I found in common with all these different modalities, whether it's breath work, whether it's yoga, whether, there's so many different modalities out there, they all do one thing, which is to take us into a deep state of rest. And so when we're in this deep state of rest, this is where our body just knows how to heal. So our bodies are highly intelligent. And when we give it that proper environment, like if you think about when you're sick, or if you think about you get a cut on your hand, especially when you're sick, like the cure for we get a flu is to rest because our bodies already know how to return back to homeostasis. And when we're in that deep rest state, our cells are regenerating, our immune function is boosting, our hormones are balancing. I mean, there's a lot going on physiologically when we're in that deep rest state, which I'll dive more into, but I wanted to offer that. Um, and so now I'm a mother, and so if you guys are, any of you are parents, remember those younger years. So my toddler is a 1.5 years old, and his name is Noah. And yeah, motherhood has also been a big rest teacher because I've experienced so much exhaustion in motherhood. And so, so first, trimester of motherhood, I was very, very nauseous. And then I was also pregnant for 43 weeks. So I was 3 weeks past my due date. So I was very pregnant, very exhausted. And then after that, had a really challenging postpartum, which not a lot of people talk about. I'm not going to go into detail about that, but it was very challenging. And on top of that, I had a year of disrupted sleep. So my baby was getting up every 1 to 3 hours to breastfeed for a whole year. So I experienced another whole level of exhaustion. And however, I am so
Diane,
grateful that.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Could you do me a favor and show your whole face?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Am
It's
I
okay. It's
cut
just
out?
I'm getting a little dizzy with your. Thank you. Thanks so
Okay.
much.
I'm sorry about that.
It's
Thank you
okay.
for
I
letting me
tried to
know.
chat to you, but you were talking, so thank you.
Okay, no worries. There we go. Is that better? Okay, hold on. Let me just.
Much better. Much better.
Okay, thank you for that. Here, I'll back off a bit too so you can see me better. Um, yeah, and so like and in motherhood, I really I almost kind of remember that time of insomnia and almost went into that. But because I had my rest toolbox, I felt like it really supported me to be able to prevent me from reaching insomnia, as well as it was, I think, really supportive for my mental health. And so so the analogy I wanted to offer you today, so I'm just going to actually share my screen here. Okay, I'm going to just share my screen so you can see my PowerPoint here. So I'm going to bear with me with technology. Okay, so I'm going to share this. Can everyone see my screen okay?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, let's.
No, I don't see it.
Okay, hold on.
Diane has started screen sharing, it says.
Oh,
Or
started.
Diana. Sorry.
Okay, oh, here. Stop. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna stop my
Oh,
screen.
you're
I think
back.
I'm back here. Okay, so I think I shared this screen. Okay, share.
You're gone again.
Can you see it
There
now?
we go. You
Okay, there
got
we go.
it.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm gonna just kind of move into, okay, this picture here. There we go.
Oh, that's
All
beautiful.
right, yeah. So I wanted to offer everyone an analogy of rest. And the reason why I wanted to offer this analogy is so when you think of rest, this is something you can think of. And so think of yourself like a tree. And when a tree has deep roots in the soil, and the soil is rich and it has a lot of nutrients in there, then that tree will grow really strong and tall and will have lots of vibrant leaves. And so when there's storms happening or, heavy rain or like when weather is happening, that tree will still stand tall. And so basically when life is lifing, so when things are happening that's outside of our control, that, you know, someone is getting sick in our family, or something is happening that is outside of our control that's causing, you know, causing us to be in a state that can feel really ungrounding. Rest is that groundingness. Rest is this ability to develop these deep roots so that the tree doesn't topple over. And so this is just an analogy here of that you can think of is we're building our deep roots today, and that is rest. And so I'm just gonna share why rest matters. And oh, sorry, that's my partner, I think. I don't know why the music is coming on. I'm so sorry. I'm just gonna turn this off. I don't know where the music is coming on in my house.
I told her that we were a very relaxed group, and if there were any tech issues, not to worry because you guys.
Thank you for your patience with tech issues. That is so strange. My radio stereo just turned on its own. All of a sudden, it started to.
No worries.
From music that's not even mine. So very strange tech situation that's happened. Thank you for your patience with that. But the perspective I wanted to offer, and it might sound radical, but hopefully by the end of this workshop, you'll start to see this importance, is that rest is not optional. A lot of us might think it's like a luxury, but it's really the foundation of life. It's as important as breathing, nutrition. I mean, sleeping is an extension of rest, and exercise. And so, like the deep roots of a thriving tree, rest not only gives us energy, it regulates our mood, and it heals our body on so many levels. And so before we get into what true rest is, I'm going to just talk a little bit about what rest resistance is. And so maybe many of you have felt these resistances come up before, that there's so much to do and there's not enough time to rest, or that knowing that we should rest, but we keep pushing it for later and later doesn't really come. Another way resistance comes up is we're doing and going all day long because it really feels like if we just stop, like everything may fall apart or things may pile up and we can't keep on top of it. So this may come up as well. Or that rest only happens at sleep time, and that it's just something that we do before going to bed. Or sometimes it might even feel hard to fall asleep because we're on go mode for so long that we feel restless in bed, which is what I felt. So yes, I've experienced that multiple times in my life, as you know. And so another way rest resistance comes up is pushing through exhaustion. So when we feel that tiredness and exhaustion come up, we feel like we got to keep going, we got to keep pushing through. And this can lead to feeling wired and tired, which is what my baseline state was before. And another way resistance can come up is we try to rest and it actually feels uncomfortable to rest, because when we start to slow down and pause, maybe our mind starts racing more and it feels uncomfortable or even anxiety inducing, and then we might feel guilty, like what are we even doing? And so if you have felt these things before, has anyone felt these things? Rest resistance? Yeah. First off, this is totally normal and there's nothing wrong with you. This is normal. And so that's why I wanted to really share how common this is. And when this happens, just acknowledging, okay, this is resistance coming up. And so why do we feel this resistance? And let's dig deeper about the why. And so a couple questions I want you to reflect on is, what were you taught about rest growing up? And what are your beliefs about rest? So a lot of our beliefs, especially, so there's conscious beliefs that we may already know, or there's a lot of beliefs that live in the subconscious. So ones that have been shaped by our parents. So maybe our parents never rested, you never saw your parents rest. Or they had certain beliefs about rest, or it could be from our friends, our teachers at school, the media, um, our community, or our culture. And so, culturally, too, we do have this culture of we must work, keep working and hustling and pushing through exhaustion. Did anyone want to share any beliefs that you've been taught about rest? So I'll name some beliefs, and maybe there's some that come up as I'm sharing about it, but some beliefs. So these are some beliefs I had when I was growing up, as well as some of my clients. So rest is lazy or weak. Rest is unproductive or a waste of time. Maybe we were taught that working hard and hustling equals success and it's not safe to relax. Or maybe we're taught that rest is a luxury or reward, and that I can only rest only after doing something productive.
Anna, are you able to see the chat when you're sharing your screen? Because there have been some responses. Because I can read them to you if that's easier.
Okay, let me see if I can, because I have my screen shared full, so
Oh,
I'm just trying. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Oh, here it is. Okay, so I can. Okay, I see the chat.
okay.
Here. Okay, raised with no rest. Women, women don't rest. They need to do it without complaint. Yes, yes, exactly. Yeah, we got to keep going without complaining. Yes, thank you for sharing that. That is
Do you
so.
want us to just put it in the chat, or would you rather us also talk?
Um, yeah, I mean, if anyone wants to share, that could work too, or I can read in the
Because I
chat.
just wanted to say, as you were talking, it reminded me when I was a child, and
Mm,
my brother-in-law was much older than me, and he used to lie on the couch. And I remember the negativity around him in that he was lazy because he was always lying on the couch. And I think it was definitely a value that my family had. Even my
mm,
sister would make fun of my mother for sleeping in till 9:30. So
mm.
I just thought it was important to share that things come from our childhood that we're not even aware of, and it just popped up as you were talking.
Yes, yes, exactly. And I thank you for bringing that up, because something that comes up is rest shame, right? Like making you feel guilty or shaming, like you're so lazy, like it comes on as shame and rest guilt as well. So thank you. Yes, that's so common, to have our parents, yeah, say those things growing up. Um, this is my constant. Um, yeah, I think in a work environment, oh, sorry, I'm just reading some of the comments. Raised with no rest, women. Okay, and working was a matter of survival culturally. Thank you. Yes, parents grew up during wartime. Yes, definitely. Yeah, especially if we've had parents that immigrated, or yeah, like grew up in that wartime. They were in survival, and so we may have just the modeling from our parents, around rest, and um, they just knew they had to just do it to put food on our tables and shelter over our heads. I come from immigrant families as well, and we grew up really poor when we first immigrated here. So thank you for sharing that, Jean. Any other shares that anyone wanted to share around this?
Well, I feel very lucky. We were allowed to nap in my house. Mind you, I never saw my mother nap, I must admit, but
Mm,
she always encouraged me to have a nap. Or
mm,
um, I was never made to feel guilty, that's for sure.
amazing.
And I
Yeah.
started yoga years ago, because I felt stressed about things, and I found it was just amazing. It was a lifeline for me. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Yeah, and that's how I felt too. And that's amazing that you had parents that modeled rest and encouraged that. Yes. And so such an interesting point because we can become models of rest for our kids, right? And we can really shift um, um, that belief system or that value system within our family lineage. And so this is another opportunity for us. Not only do we rest for ourselves, we rest for our children and their children going forward. So thank you for sharing that. Um, okay, so I'm just going to move that little chat on the side. And oops, we went the wrong way. Okay. Okay. So I wanted to offer some new beliefs for today. And maybe you might not believe this yet, but hopefully by the end you will believe this. And so, the first belief, if you've been told that rest is a waste of time or unproductive, I will offer this new belief that rest is the most productive thing you could do for your health and life. And we'll go into the whys of what's happening in our bodies. Rest is energy and vitality. So every time we rest, we're pouring energy into ourselves and filling our cups. And the third belief is that rest is my birthright. I am born worthy of rest just because I exist. So we don't need to do something productive in order to rest. And so I think about my baby Noah, who's a year and a half, and you know, he has many naps. Like when he was obviously under one, he's still taking 2 naps a day. But I would never say like you have to do something in order to nap, right? It's just part of his health and to be able to um, yeah, just grow and be healthy. And so, you know, seeing us as like a baby and that like they need naps, and I'm a total proponent of adults needing naps, especially in like if you look at European cultures too, they have that siesta time because physiologically there's actually a drop in cortisol around 3 p.m. and a rise in that melatonin, which is that sleepy hormone. So, physiology, based on our circadian rhythm there is a natural rest time that our body needs. And so, just another little side note here, but I'm going to just keep going forward. Okay, hold on. Sorry. Here we go. Okay. And so, a new affirmation that can help to, so if you've had that conditioning from your parents in the past, or part of your upbringing, a new way we can think about rest is saying rest first to ourselves and do later. So putting on our oxygen mask first, filling our cup first, and then do later, whatever, if that's like the laundry or the dishes or the paperwork or the errands, just taking that moment. And I also want to share with you that rest can take a little time and effort. So this doesn't mean you need to take a full-blown 20-minute nap, which, you know, I'll introduce you to the yoga nidra, but I'll also give you some tools where it doesn't have to take a lot of time. So, you know, if there's that resistance coming up, well, like this is going to take a lot of time, it really doesn't. So I wanted to share that. And so now we're going to go into what is true rest and what is not rest. So I'm going to talk about what is not rest. So if there is an activity, and so this is like if your intention is to rest, there's no judgment around these activities, but if your intention is to rest and you are feeling more wired and stimulated from the activity, or maybe you're feeling like this activity leaked a bunch of energy and you're feeling depleted after it, so this isn't restful for yourself. And so sometimes, you know, this is an example, and these are things I've experienced. You know, there's no judgment towards this, but it's like that feeling of, you know, you need to take that vacation from a vacation. Maybe, you know, you book that vacation and you have like so many things that you want to check off the box on that vacation, and you come home and you're like, I don't feel well rested, I need another vacation. Another example is phone and screen time. So the blue light from our screens, they do drive up cortisol, which is our stress hormone, and that makes us feel more wired and alert. And so sometimes, like we're, everyone does this, but just this is more like just tracking yourself and seeing, okay, if we're on social media or just scrolling, this can make us feel more wired, and sometimes it can feel like we're taking a rest, but it's actually making us more wired. And another example is like if you're sitting at the beach, which is very restful, but then you're drinking something very caffeinated like a Red Bull, that speeds up our heart rate. So or sometimes we're watching a movie, and depending on what we're watching, right? Some movies can feel really relaxing and restful, whereas other movies, they get our heart rate going. It's like very suspenseful, and there's drama and action. And so, that does activate our brain more and speed up our heart rate. So just notice what's happening in your body. And so I'm going to give you a tool that you can use to check in with yourself. Keep going here. And so, so I've talked about this energy cup a lot. And so part of it is you're filling your cup, but the other part of the cup, if there's holes in the cup. So some of these, when we know what's not rest and what's leaking our energy, then just having that awareness, you can start to seal those holes. So there's two ways that we can think about rest, is filling that cup as well as what's leaking out. And the more we have awareness of what's leaking our energy, the more we can just shift some things in our life or hold those stronger boundaries to be able to prevent those energies from leaking out. And so now, what is true rest? And I wanted to offer this perspective that rest is a physiological state where our nervous system is in a parasympathetic state. So I'll go into, I won't get like crazy sciencey if you guys are like, oh, the science is like, yeah, or maybe you're into science and you're like loving this. So I'll just, go a little bit into the science of it. So it just helps you understand what's going on in our bodies. But basically, when we're in that parasympathetic nervous system state, this is where our cardiovascular system, our hormone system, and muscular system, so all the different systems in our bodies, will shift from activity and alertness into relaxation, repair, and recovery mode. And so when we are in that state, this is where a lot of the healing processes happen. And so how can we really check in to see if whatever that activity we're engaging with is true rest? And so I wanted to offer you a second tool, which is called the Rest Body Map Check-In. So this is a check-in that you can do throughout your day to ask yourself, am I in a physiological rest state? And so we'll walk through this tool together. Okay, so if you are already sitting in a chair and finding that comfortable seat, I'm gonna shift, I'm gonna move back a bit so you can see me better. So it's similar to what we experienced in that beginning tool, where we're gonna take our left hand on our heart and our right hand on our belly. Yeah, so just taking a moment. So this is a check-in you can do throughout your whole day, and it's very simple. And so by placing our left hand on our heart and right hand on our belly, we can really pay attention to, how is your heart rate right now? How is your breath? And closing your eyes if that feels safe, or just finding a soft gaze on the ground. And just notice, if your heart rate is speeding up right now. Maybe you're feeling, excited. Notice your breath. So if your breath is starting to slow down, you are entering more in that parasympathetic nervous system state. So right now you might not be there, so you're not really resting right now. We're all engaging and focusing. So this is just a check-in to see where you're at with your body. So if it's starting to slow down, you're starting to enter more into that parasympathetic state. If your heart rate, so asking also, what is your body temperature like? Sometimes when we're not rested, it can feel hot and sweaty. What are your muscles like? Maybe there's areas that we're tensing, maybe we're clenching our jaw, or we're tensing our shoulders, or our forehead or temples. Just notice if you're tensing any of your muscles. And how are your thoughts? Maybe there's some racing thoughts. But as we rest more, our thoughts will start to slow down and become more spaced out. And how is your body feeling overall? Are you feeling more grounded, present? Or maybe you're feeling a little more anxious, or where are you at? So there's no wrong answer to this in this moment, but it's just an opportunity to check in. So this check-in you can do throughout your day, or if you are, engaging in an activity or having a conversation with somebody or anything, like this is a check-in to know if this is an activity you want to engage in more or less. So how did that check-in feel? Any comments?
Yeah, feel free to unmute if that's easier than typing.
Yeah, if you want to unmute or share.
I simply like the idea of being aware to check in with yourself.
Yes, and that's all this is. Yeah, that's all it is. It is just, as we move through our day, just taking a minute to just check in and seeing where we're at.
And then even like recognizing that if your heart rate is going fast, or if you're feeling flushed, or your muscles are feeling tense, like that, those are indicators to you that
yes,
something else is going on.
absolutely. Thank you, Elaine. Yes, exactly. Exactly. So just having that awareness as we're moving through the day. So this is at that second tool. Okay, so I'm going to keep going. There we go. Okay, here. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to talk briefly about our nervous system. And so our nervous system has two modes, and I'm just going to call them gears. And so the one gear is the fight and flight gear. So this is when we're in our sympathetic nervous system is activated. And you can think of this like if you're driving a car and you're pressing the gas pedal all the time. So on one hand, it can be healthy in the ways of it does help us get things done, solve problems, stay alert and focused. So there's definitely a healthy version of this. But when that go pedal is pressed for too long and all the time, and this is when we start to feel more anxious and overwhelmed and stressed out and agitated. So this is when that sympathetic nervous system is overly active. And so what is happening on a physiological level is our body is releasing more cortisol, which is our stress hormone, and our adrenaline is going, which is that also feeling more more stress basically. And so sometimes when we're going so much, the energy we're getting is actually from our adrenaline. And so the other piece of the nervous system is when we move into that rest and digest. So this is called the parasympathetic nervous system. And so when that's activated, you can think of this in a car as our slow gear. So this is when we're parking our car or on cruise control, which we're conserving energy. And this gear, when a nervous system is activated, this is where digestion is happening, when our emotions are becoming more regulated. This is where sleep happens, and there's a lot of healing that goes on in the body. And so I also wanted to introduce you to the vagus nerve. And so this is a nerve that's running from our brain, coming all the way down, that innervates our heart, our digestive system, and it also innervates most of the other processes in our body. It's the longest nerve in our body. And you can think of this vagus nerve as our body's calm down switch. And so every time we just take a moment to rest, this starts to tone our vagus nerve. So the vagus nerve is not a muscle, but we can kind of think of it like, we can kind of think of it like a muscle, where the more we practice rest and the more we take time to rest, it will tone our vagus nerve. So it'll strengthen that vagus nerve. And what that does is the more we tone our vagus nerve, the easier it is for us to recover from stress, the easier it is for us to become more regulated and relaxed. And so if we're not used to this in the beginning, it's totally normal that you're not good at this, and that's totally okay. And just, it's a practice. So rest is a practice, and it's really signaling to the body that it is safe to relax. And especially if we've been taught, in our upbringing, in our culture, that is not safe to relax. And, we've had these conditionings into our subconscious that, rest is a waste of time. So in the beginning, it might feel difficult to access a more rested state, but the more we just show up in practice, the easier it's going to get. And so when our vagus nerve becomes more toned, then we'll enter more easily into that parasympathetic nervous system state. That's where our immune function is more enhanced, our hormones are balancing, so we feel better in our mood, our digestive system is happening, and this helps us access more restorative sleep. So I'm going to offer you another rest tool here, and this is called the cooling breath. And so this breath is really amazing when you're feeling emotions of anger, frustration, or agitation build up. So you're starting to feel hot and sweaty in the body. So this is a breath that is really helpful for just releasing some of that stress that's held in the body. So we start to feel more grounded, and the temperature may start to drop. So that's why it's called the cooling breath, and calm. And so the way this breath works is you're going to inhale through the nose for 3. And you're going to exhale out the mouth for 6. But this time you're going to make an O shape with your mouth, like you're blowing out a dandelion or blowing a straw, for 6. So you might actually naturally do this. So ever feel anger and frustration build up, and you're like your body might naturally, physiologically do this when you're feeling angry, but we can have intention around this. So this is, has anyone felt that before, where, yeah, like you're already doing this, but this is something that we can also use as a tool. And we're going to take 3 cooling breaths together. And so you can always do the hand on the heart and on the belly if you want to. I always find it's nice to feel resourced that way by just having that contact with our breath and our body. And we'll take a deep breath in through the nose for 3. And exhale out the mouth for 6, making an O shape like you're blowing a dandelion. Beautiful. And again, deep breath in for 3. And exhale out the mouth for 6. And one more time, inhale for 3. And exhale out for 6. And as you're exhaling, feeling the shoulders start to drop, feeling the muscles start to relax in your face. Just notice any internal shifts. Sometimes after that breath, we might even do a natural sigh, or we start to yawn again. Maybe our breath is starting to slow down and deepen after those 3 cooling breaths. Okay. How did that feel? Did anyone want to share? Good.
Yeah,
Bridget.
it's good.
Amazing. Heather, I see your question too. How do I maintain a sense of calm and rest when in a very stressful situation, such as an emergency? Yes. Yeah, really good question. And so, I mean, this is one of the breaths that you could do is when you're feeling that really heightened state, just taking those cooling breaths. And another tool I'm going to offer, I wasn't planning on offering this too, is sometimes just shaking out our arms, just shaking out our arms, just dissipating some of that. So when we were in that fight and flight, so that like emergency state, it's a lot of buildup of energy and activation for our nervous system. And so, I mean, just taking a moment just to acknowledge that and shaking out your arms. So this is just a simple tool, and then you can also use the cooling breath. And sometimes, this isn't like an immediate thing too, just to offer that as well. Like sometimes there, depending on what's happening in our life, like it can feel super overwhelming, and sometimes you might not immediately feel better. It might take some time, but know that every time you're practicing this, when you're not in an emergency situation, you're toning that vagus nerve, and you are building that muscle memory in our bodies, so that when we're in that emergency situation, we can self-resource and use these tools, and it becomes easier over time. Yeah, I should
Kind
have
of
done
like,
that.
kind of like building a muscle in advance of needing to use that muscle.
Exactly. Yes.
Uh,
Yes. So yeah, it's like going to the gym, right? Like if you're working out and you're building big muscles, it's going to be easier for you to lift things. So it's the same thing.
I find that when I have a rest, I don't feel rested. I used to, but I can have a rest for 20 minutes, half an hour, maybe even an hour, and I still don't feel rested. Um, I haven't been doing much yoga for over a year because I had a major surgery in last June. So I'm thinking that I need to get back to some of this breathing before I try to have a rest.
Mm. And when you say you have a rest, like, do you mean take a nap?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, sometimes do you feel like you are like feeling like you're pushing through that exhaustion and you're feeling a little more wired?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's totally normal too. Sometimes when we're in that like activation where our sympathetic nervous system is on too much, it can be hard, even when we're napping, to feel like truly restored. But the fact that you're napping, I mean, it's all benefiting you. And yes, like starting with some of the smaller tools like the breath can help to, again, like train our vagus nerve, right, to um, move more into that parasympathetic state, so that we're cueing to the body, to that it's safe to start to like enter into the parasympathetic nervous system. And so the more we, yeah, access these tools, when we do take those naps, we will start to feel more deeply restored. But I'm glad that is feeling inspiring to
Okay, thank you.
incorporate that. So I hope that answers your question. So I'm going to keep going. And so, the rest toolbox I'm going to offer you is the focus of 3 pathways. The first pathway is your breath, which you have experienced. The second pathway is going to be your body. So we've experienced that too, by bringing awareness to the contact that your hands are making with your body, by feeling the connection of your feet to your ground, by bringing awareness to the muscles in your body. That's another pathway. The third pathway is connecting to our 5 senses. And so which I'll go over this in more detail. And so this is why rest doesn't have to take more time and effort. That by becoming present and focused with our breath, body, and 5 senses, you can literally start to integrate this into the flow of your life. And okay, so I'm going to share another breath tool, but I'm actually going to share this breath tool after the body tool that I'm going to share with you. And so I'll walk you through these other tools here. And so this tool is another one that you can do when you feel like it's hard to relax, and it's really hard to relax your muscles. And so this is a tool called the Tense and Release Body Scan. And you can do this sitting down, or you can do this lying down. But so if you are sitting, and I'm actually we're gonna explore this as well as the balanced breaths, which is another tool. So we're gonna go through a little journey together. And also I'm gonna introduce you to the 5 senses in this journey here. So we'll walk through it all together as one. So finding a comfortable seat, or you can lie down on your bed. This is also really nice to lie down in. And so if you are sitting, just notice the hard surface beneath you. Notice the contact your legs and sit bones are making with the ground. Or if you're lying down, notice the contact that the back of your body is making with your bed or the floor. And just acknowledging the support beneath you. So we're going to take a deep breath in through the nose. And now tense your face, squeeze your arms, squeeze your feet, squeeze your whole body. Squeeze, 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 and exhale out the mouth. Let go of all your muscles. So we're going to do this 3 more times. So take a deep breath in through the nose. And now squeeze your muscles, squeeze your hands, squeeze your feet, squeeze your face, squeeze, 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 and exhale out the mouth. And letting go of your muscles. And we'll do this one more time. Inhale through the nose. And squeeze your face, squeeze your hands, squeeze your feet, squeeze your legs, squeeze your arms, squeeze everything, and exhale. Relax relax all your muscles. And as you are relaxing all of your muscles, feeling that space between your teeth as your jaw completely relaxes, taking the tongue to the roof of the mouth. I'm going to start to take some balancing breaths here. So what a balancing breath is we're going to balance the inhales and the exhales. So inhaling for 3, 2, 1, and exhaling for 3, 2, 1. So we'll just take 5 more breaths. And finding that balanced breath here. So when we start to balance our breath, this creates more balance in our life. So our breath can be like a reflection of our life. And so anytime we're feeling our breath starting to quicken or be shallow, this is another tool you can go to start to balance our inhales and balance our exhales. And as you're exploring these balanced breaths, I'm just taking a moment to just feel the heaviness of your body. So you're starting to feel deeper relaxation. Maybe you're starting to feel your arms and your legs get heavier. And your muscles get heavy. And just notice the sounds around you. Notice if there's any subtle sounds. Maybe if your window's open, you might hear some birds, or maybe you're hearing that little hum in the background. Notice any taste in your mouth. And if you do a swallow, just noticing any taste. And if you're closing your eyes, just notice the darkness. Notice the heaviness of your eyelids. And if you're opening your eyes, also notice what's around you. If your eyes are open, maybe tracing the lines of the room. Notice any details around you. And just taking a moment to acknowledge any smells. So even when you're taking your breath, notice if there's any smells you're noticing. Sometimes it can be even just if your window's open, just the gust of wind and the sense of nature coming through your window. Yeah. So in this practice, we've explored that tense and release, and then the balancing breath, balancing our inhales and exhales. And we also explored our 5 senses. So what can we see? What can we feel? What can we hear? What can we smell? What can we taste? And so this tool you can, use while you're drinking something, when you're eating, when you're walking in nature, or, if there's some calming scents that you like lavender oil, dropping into the senses. So this is another pathway we can feel more rested, and it takes us more into that parasympathetic nervous system state, that rest and digest state. And another way we can experience the senses is through sound. And so there's actual frequencies of sound that is very healing for our body. So I'm just going to introduce you to one, and you can always find this on YouTube or Spotify. I can also share a playlist for you as a resource, but 432 hertz is a frequency that exists in nature, and there's actual sound that is tuned to 432 hertz. So I also share sound healing with Tibetan bowls and crystal bowls, um, and so when we're in that frequency of 432 hertz, this can already start to so sound will enter into our body. So our body is like 70 to 80% water, and so it's a carrier. It's a really strong carrier of the sound. And so when that frequency enters into the body, it starts to already make us feel more calm. So that's another tool. You can just play this music in the background. You know, so simple. And then I'm noticing I have about 10 more minutes left. How is everyone? I'm sorry. I know there's a lot I want to share today, but I want to introduce you to Yoga Nidra, and I'm going to send you a Yoga Nidra so that you have a recording you can do at home. But I know, so, I know we already went through a really restful experience. So how is that time for everyone? I just wanted to check in. So I'm going to introduce Yoga Nidra, and does anyone want to experience one more rest tool, or how is everyone feeling like rested already? I just wanted to check in.
I'm okay with more.
You're okay with more? Okay, so we might go like maybe 5 minutes over. Um, but this is rest. This is this feels yummy. Yeah, so Yoga Nidra is a style of rest called non-sleep deep rest. And the reason why it's called non-sleep deep rest is you can enter into deep states of rest, but you're still aware. And sometimes we can fall asleep when we're experiencing yoga nidra, but it is kind of similar to a meditation. But the difference between other meditations and yoga nidra is that there is it's guided, and you can sit down or you can lie down. I mean, lie down is the best because you can just like really settle into that relaxation. But the unique thing about yoga nidra is that it takes us into what's called a hypnagogic state, so that period right before falling asleep. And so that period right before falling asleep is where our brain waves actually start to slow down. And in Yoga Nidra, you can actually access very slow brain waves that exist in deep sleep called delta and theta. And so that's why they say when, this is not scientifically proven, but I've been practicing Yoga Nidra for over 5 years, and I feel this way. 20 minutes of Yoga Nidra literally feels like 3 hours of sleep. And the great thing about Yoga Nidra, you don't need any meditation experience. You don't have to be a good meditator to get the benefits of Yoga Nidra. It is accessible to everyone. You cannot do this wrong. You literally just follow the guidance, and if you don't have to even focus hard on it, you just let the guidance come in and out, let it drift in and out, and you will always get what you need in Yoga Nidra. And I love it because it's so easy. You don't need special skills for this. You don't need to be good at anything for this. It is like, and it's accessible to everyone. And I'm just gonna keep going with Yoga Nidra. So it can help you if you're struggling to fall asleep to listen to the Yoga Nidra recording. It also gives you, that like best adult nap ever, where you feel more energized. I'd recommend experiencing Yoga Nidra before 4 p.m. So you don't want to do it too close to bedtime, and you want to set an alarm for 20 minutes because when you nap, and actually this is back to another question you feel more tired after a nap. So sometimes if you're napping longer than 20 minutes, you might actually enter into deep sleep, which is what you don't want. So when you wake up from deep sleep, you're going to feel really groggy. But if you set that alarm for 20 minutes, you will still be in those light stages of sleep. So that's when we wake up and we feel more replenished. And so in Yoga Nidra, that 20 minutes is the sweet spot. And it's best used if you're feeling really exhausted and fatigued. And so when you're feeling like you're having to push through that exhaustion, this is a great tool to prevent burnout. And Yoga Nidra is there's a type of Yoga Nidra called iRest, and this is a well-researched one that's also used in veteran clinics, in schools, and hospitals, in military bases, and it also helps with stress, anxiety, insomnia, PTSD, and depression. So there's a lot of research around this with particularly iRest. But so Karen, so I was trained in Daring to Rest with Karen, and Karen did her training with iRest as well. And so, but you know, with Daring to Rest too, which is another style of Yoga Nidra, and that was what I was trained in. It all offers very similar benefits. But the reason why I brought up iRest was because there's actually a lot of research behind it, and but they're all very beneficial. And Daring to Rest is my favorite because I was trained in it, and I'll send you a Yoga Nidra meditation so that you have access to one.
Is this is it iRest an app or a course?
iRest is a type of Yoga Nidra. So if you just Google iRest Yoga
Okay.
Nidra,
Yeah.
it's a style of Yoga Nidra. So there's many different types of styles of Yoga Nidra, but they all are composed of breathing and the body scan, and so there's very specific components of the Yoga Nidra, and also accessing the five senses. So all the three pathways I talked about with rest, the breath, the body, the five senses, that's all in Yoga Nidra. And but the style, so it's like kind of like if you think about yoga, there's different styles of yoga. I mean, Yoga Nidra, there's consistency in the sense that it all takes you into deep rest, but it's just more the languaging behind it. Okay, so we will, does everyone have time? We'll just do a really quick Yoga Nidra. I mean, we're just so in Yoga Nidra, you can go quite deep, but we're gonna just stay in the body part of Yoga Nidra. So is anyone, I'm just gonna put on some music. Is anyone ready for some Yoga Nidra? Okay, so I will put on some music. Okay. Okay, let me just find where my music went. Okay, here we go. Okay, so I'm going to play my music, and how come it's, can anyone hear the
Not
music?
yet. Not yet.
Okay, hold on. Let me see. Thank you for your patience with technology. Okay, I'm gonna actually there's so many screens here. Okay. Ooh.
We practiced this before. It's there.
Yeah, we did this together. So I'm just going to, oh, here it is. Here it is. Oh, wait, no. This is, okay, I'm going to just exit out of this screen because we don't need that. And that, okay, just because the Zoom is now, oh, there we are. Okay. Okay, and I'm going to exit out of this screen as well. There we go, so I can find where I am. Okay, so I'm gonna unshare my screen. Or are you able to
Yep, no, you're
share
welcome
the
to.
screen? Thank you so much. Okay, so there we go. I found the music. right. And I'm going to play. There we go. Can everyone hear the music okay? And is it competing with my voice?
A little bit louder than it was before.
A little bit louder. Okay, so I'm going to just dim the volume down here. Okay. Is that better? I dimmed the volume down, and I'm going to also share my music. Hold on, let's see. Oh, here we go. Okay, and if I do advanced computer audio share, okay, and then I'm going to turn original musician on. Okay, there we go. Is that better?
Now we see you and we hear the music.
And you hear the music and you hear my voice.
And we can hear your voice.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right. So I recommend lying down for this, or you can do it seated as well, but it's also nice to lie down. And if you're lying down, getting cozy, like sometimes it's nice to put on a blanket and just get comfortable. And we'll just do a little like movement. If there's any, wiggles and jiggles you need to get out, just get them out now so that you can find a place of stillness. And if it feels safe to close your eyes, close your eyes. Just start to notice your breath. Notice the breath going in and out of your nose. Notice the temperature of the breath. So maybe you're feeling that cool breath going in and warm breath coming out. Just continuing to feel your breath. Warm breath. Cool breath coming in. And warm breath coming out. We're going to take 2 releasing breaths here. So you're going to take a deep inhale through the nose for 3. And an exhale at the mouth for 6. And again, deep breath in through 3. And exhale at the mouth for 6. And now returning to a normal breath. Feeling the expansion of the inhale, feeling your belly, ribcage, chest expand. Feeling the chest, ribcage, belly drop. So just allowing the breath to expand and contract without controlling anything, just taking your normal breathing. And now bringing your awareness to your heart and allowing this place to guide an intention for this yoga nidra. So if there is a word that you want to invite into your life, maybe it's peace, groundedness, energy, rest, health, whatever that word is, just repeating that to yourself 3 times, breathing it into your heart. Now we're going to move into a body scan. So as I'm naming a body part, without moving that body part, see if you can soften the muscles in that area. So bringing your awareness to your toes without moving your toes. Soften the muscles of your toes, the top of your feet, the sole of your feet, lower leg, knee joint, soften the muscles of your upper leg. And feeling the hips drop. Maybe feeling your whole leg get heavy. And now bringing the awareness to your fingers. Without moving your fingers, softening the muscles of all 5 fingers. The palm of your hand, back of your hand, lower arm, upper arm. Just feeling the shoulders drop. Feeling your whole arm get heavy. And now feeling your face. We wiggle the jaw side to side, softening the jaw. Swallow. Separate your teeth, take the tongue to the roof of the mouth, relaxing your jaw. Temples, cheekbones, eyelids, eyebrows, forehead, temples. Feeling all the muscles of your face completely relaxed. Feeling your whole body get heavier and heavier as you are melting into the earth if you're lying on your back, or just feeling the weight of your legs and arms feeling closer to the ground. You are completely relaxed. So start to wiggle our toes and our fingers. If you're lying on your back, maybe bringing your knees to your chest, giving yourself a big hug or rolling onto your side, or if you're sitting in a chair, you can start to open your eyes and just kind of wiggle the body side to side. Yeah, so this is a short and sweet yoga nidra practice, and I'm curious how you feel. And if anyone had anything they wanted to share, have any questions you want to share,
Before we go to
turn off the music here.
kind of open it up for everybody.
I clicked the wrong thing. Okay, I'm gonna stop the music here. Okay, there we go. There we go.
Just before we open it up to a couple of minutes of questions, I just really want to thank you, Diana, for sharing that your story at the beginning really reaffirms that mind-body connection
Mm.
and how the mind does impact our bodies. And it's something that we all talk about, but really just to be so much more in tune with that, and really the power of that exhale with the how
Mm.
powerful and powerful that can be. And to some of the comments that are made about trying to find time to rest, and these strategies that you shared for these micro moments of fitting rest into your day, and looking at how you're spending your time, and is that energy replenishing, is it giving, or is it draining? And so just again, some of this awareness that you've shared with us, that things for us to think about. And rest really is a practice, right? Where we have to practice have it to have it a part of our day, but also the actual practice of actually being able to turn things off and to rest. And so thank you for joining us.